Welcome to Why Don't We Dress for Dinner Anymore with host, senior style icon, and snack size sassy suit wearer, Teddy Crockman.
And natural redhead and current MBA, Melissa Pierce. So what are we going to talk about today, Melissa?
Well, I heard you went to 1,000 events again.
A lot.
Very busy in your retirement.
A lot. Actually, remember the last episode we were talking about vintage?
Yes.
Okay, I'm really starting to get into that.
Good.
Even though it's a certain look, it's a certain style, but it's fun. It was fun. In fact, I went and I met a friend of mine. Her name is Kristen. Now, let me pronounce her last name correctly. Kristen Schlazak.
Wow.
Kristen Schlazak, and she has Schlazak Vintage. She had a pop-up store at the Northbridge stores on Michigan Avenue about 3 weeks ago. And I visited her. Now she's got all designer vintage. So it's very expensive. Most everything is several $100,000 up. You're not going to find like a $40 find in Kristen's store for the most part.
Dang it. Well, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
And I tried on, and I've done some reels for her. I tried on a beautiful, shocking pink Moschino cape with kind of like a military look. I did a Chanel vintage outfit, a red one that had kind of like little pieces of glass sewn all over it.
I feel like Chanel is made for you. So
it was nice.
Yeah.
Then what else did I do? I did this coat I love. There's this chocolate brown coat from the 70s. Remember we were talking about how hard it is to find things actually from the 70s?
Yes.
This is a Lillian coat that was from the 70s, chocolate brown with a big, beautiful chocolate brown, like fox fur collar. It's like a trench style, so it's wrap, kind of wrap style. That thing was gorgeous. I am telling you, I went outside of Michigan Avenue because I was doing like a little video walking around and all that kind of stuff. I can't tell you how many people stopped me to tell me that coat looks so gorgeous on you. Beautiful. Now the coat, needless to say, is several $100s. It's not like a $50 coat or $100 or even $150. It's several $100s. But I told Kristen, I said, in case she does not sell that, I will buy it. I'll save up my pennies and I will buy that coat from her in October. So hopefully, Kristen, I want you to sell the coat because I want you to make money. But it would find a good home with me if you wait until October.
If she just hid it behind some things for you
right.
until October, which is how many months away?
Right.
What is the most you've spent on any one piece of fashion? Do you have this?
Oh, gosh, I can't. $1,000 for a pair of Manolo Blahniks.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be shoes.
That was several years ago. And actually, I didn't know I was spending $1,000. I think, did I tell you this story?
No.
Okay, we went to New York. I was a huge Sex and the City fan. And so the first time we went to New York, I wanted to kind of do all the Sex and the City shops. And she was known for wearing Manolos at that time, were even bigger than Christian Louboutins, which kind of have taken over. So I went to the actual Manolo Blahnik store. The first time I bought a pair of black pumps with like a little swirl on the toe. And those cost me, I think, $500. So I thought, that's the average price of the Manolo Blahniks. So the second time we went to New York, there was he says, I got the perfect shoes for you if you like jangly shoes. And we call them the belly dancer shoes. So he brings them out and there's these beautiful shoes that literally look like you have like bracelets on your feet, right? Mm-hmm. So I just try one of them on just to see how it fits. And I go, these are beautiful. I'll take these without even asking the price because there's no prices on those shoes.
No,
you got to ask.
Not. Yeah. They're not putting stickers on the bottom.
It's a store where if you have to ask, you can't afford it, right? So I figured, $500-$600. I had that budgeted in for that. So I give him my American Express card and he says, that'll be $998 and some cents.
Oh, that hurts.
And I just, like you said, I felt like somebody stabbed me in the chest. I handed him the card because I was so embarrassed. Ken is waiting outside for me.
Oh, no.
Now, wait a minute. This was a time when we were, not, the wealthiest. I mean, not that we're wealthy now, but I mean, just kind of living paycheck to paycheck, saving your pennies and that kind of thing. And we really needed a refrigerator, right?
And you got shoes.
And I bought shoes. So we come out of Manolo Blahnik. He says, "Oh, are you happy now? You got your shoes?" I said, "Yeah." We get to the corner and I said, "Ken, I got to tell you something." He says, "What?" I said, "I didn't know until the guy asked me and I was too embarrassed. These shoes cost me a few dollars under $1,000." And he was like, and this was back in 1999, I think, or something like that, or 2000.
Oh,
So that was 20 some years ago. So, if they were, those would be like $3,000 shoes now. So I said, "If you want," and we were just at the corner of Manolo, so we weren't too far. I said, "If you want, I will take them back because I know we need to buy a refrigerator."
Yeah.
I said, I didn't know it was, I just thought the average price was somewhere between $500 and $600. I budgeted for that.
Yep.
That was my treat for the trip. There was no way that I thought I was going to spend $1,000 on shoes. And he looked at me, he goes, "Do you like them?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Then keep them."
Ken. And that's why you've been married.
Isn't he
25 years later? Yeah.
Yeah.
From there, 1999,
almost
26,
50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be 48 years 47 years this year.
Holy $1,000. Do you still have them? Do you still
No.
have them? What happened?
No. So what happened was they were the most uncomfortable shoes I have ever worn in my entire life. It was like somebody was sticking knives in my feet because these little beads that they had on there were sharp.
Yeah.
And they were like little jingle bell things, right? Now you didn't jingle, but they were kind of like, it looked like a jingle bell, the shape of a jingle bell. And they were very tiny and they were turquoise. The shoes were turquoise. So I wore them out one night when we were going out to dinner in this theater. They had like old movies or whatever. And I literally couldn't walk in them because it felt like every step my feet were being stabbed by knives. So Ken would have to pick me up. I'm standing in front of the show. I'm standing in front of the rest. I literally couldn't walk more than 2 feet. So I put them up on eBay and I sold them to a woman in Florida. And because they had only been worn once, literally. And, I put the actual price that I paid, and a woman in Florida bought them from me for $600. So I only lost about so it cost me $400 to wear those shoes once.
One time. And that was
$400.
That was your $1,000.
And then I did recoup $600 back by selling them on eBay. But that was, I would say that in my memory is the most I've ever spent on fashion. And it was for...
It was for a pair of shoes you wore once. They weren't even your wedding shoes.
No. So my wedding shoes, I probably paid $50 for.
So you went to these vintage fashion things.
Yes.
And what did you pick up? And don't tell me you spent $1,000 on anything.
No, but I am saving my pennies, Kristen, for their coat.
That's right.
Because the coat is a lot. But anyway, then I went to Ravenswood, had a big show on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I met our friend Melissa Carter, who's going to be an upcoming guest. Next month, we're going to be interviewing Melissa. She has Cameo Vintage. And she's a very good friend. She was up for the Rising Star Content Creator.
That's right.
Last year as well, too. So she's very excellent at what she does. So I stopped by, met with Melissa. I met with another very interesting woman named Corbin. I believe her last name is Whitting, but I might not be correct. So forgive me, Corbin. I'm just talking off the top of my head. But she's literally got a home that is decorated every single room in 70s style. And she rents it out oftentimes for photo shoots and things like that. And she's a potential guest for our podcast. We might film the podcast over at her house because it's like a museum of 70s. It's like the 70s. It's like the 70s museum if you see it. It's so interesting. So I met Corbin at the vintage show. You meet a lot of interesting people at the vintage shows, I mean, just people will talk to you. I ran into Jen, another friend of mine who does a lot of what's the name I'm looking for? She doesn't refurbish clothes. She
upcycle.
Yeah. I keep wanting to say she upcycles clothes a lot. And Jen does a fabulous. She doesn't sell it. And I keep telling her to sell it because she makes like fabulous stuff. She's cutting up jean things and ties and sewing them together. I mean, she always looks fabulous.
So it's just for herself. She just makes it for herself.
And she has a site. It's called, her site is, I believe, called Gen Restyle. And she does a fabulous, fabulous job. So I met Jen at the vintage show. I met another woman. This was interesting. She stopped me. I had on a big pair of earrings, again, inspired by Sex and the City. Carrie used to have these big bamboo earrings on with the name Carrie across them. I have the big bamboo earrings with the name Theodora across them, right? So this woman stops me and she says, "Is your Theodora? Are you Greek?" And I go, "Yes, I am." She says, "I'm currently writing a book about the Empress Theodora." There was an Empress Theodora. She started out as a prostitute. She was
a rags to riches story.
She was a prostitute, a Greek prostitute.
Is this who your mom was like? You know what? We're born lonely, but
she was a Greek hooker. She's a Greek hooker who married this Roman emperor, and she became the most powerful empress in that time zone of history.
You know what? I actually love that.
Yeah, she was enormously powerful. In fact, I believe she influenced, at that time, they were just like putting the Bible together, and they had what they called in Turkey, King Constantine had this council called the Council of Nicaea, and they were picking and choosing what should go in the Bible. And Empress Theodora had quite a bit to say about what went in there. So for all your biblical scholars, check up on it. It's true.
Right. What did Theodora keep? What was she vetoed?
I don't know, but they did take out reincarnation. Did you know that reincarnation was initially in the writings that were going to be included in the Bible? And King Constantine wanted that taken out specifically because he thought that if people thought they had a second or third time around, that they wouldn't listen because they figured, well, I got another life, or I got another life. He says he didn't want to give people that much hope. So he figured, in order to control people, just tell them they go one time around, and then I can scare them to death and control their behavior. So it's very interesting, but we're kind of off topic here anyway.
What I think every topic is a good topic for this particular podcast.
So we went from Princess Theodora the hooker. She wasn't really a hooker, but she was like a courtesan type of person. Whatever you want to call them.
Oldest profession.
Right.
Like a whole biblical thing about Mary. But
this Greek woman stopped me, and she was very lovely. We ended up talking for a good long period of time. So, like I said, you go to these places, but you meet such interesting people, and they just come up to you and they start talking. You have something in common. You're all looking to find treasures. In fact, I wanted to show you the treasure that I got. Talk about Sex in the City. I bought this at the Ravenswood show. Can you see this, gang? It literally looks like a rolled up Vogue magazine, right? And it's a handbag.
It's fantastic.
And I thought, this is so cute. And you know how
your idea is still in it. in a couple of you should maybe do that.
It came with my driver's license that has a horrible picture, and my Visa card, and $1. They came with all that included. They knew I was going to buy it. But I thought this was so cute because, again, Sex in the City, I think it's season 3 or 4, Carrie is on a boat with Big, and it's a magazine launch party, and Carrie is carrying a handbag that looks like a rolled up magazine. And this one is Vogue. This is circa 1980s. So I would have been, if it's 1980, I would have been 26 years old when this bag was made. So that means that this bag was made 54 years ago, 55 years ago. So this bag is very old. But look at how good condition it is. Isn't that cute?
It's in great
condition. So I'm getting into a little bit of the hang of this vintage
this
stuff.
Is good because both of my girls are going to be leaving me, and I'll have no one to shop vintage.
This Ravenswood Vintage Market that they have, I think it's Randolph Market or Ravenswood, something. They got Randolph and Ravenswood. I don't know. They interchanged the names, but I got a card. And they give shows all the time. They're having more, I think, in the spring, and then they're going to have more in the fall for fall kinds of clothes and stuff. So they have these markets a lot. And it's in a big building, and they had maybe 25, 30 vendors. The only problem is, the suggestion I would make if you're giving this event again, is none of the vendors had their names. So you didn't know what the name, like the person who I bought this from, I have no clue what their store is named. So if I wanted to go to her store and look around some more.
There wasn't a card in there?
No. Some of them handed me cards, like the booth that I met Corbin in, the lady that wasn't, Corbin was just visiting the booth like I was, and we ended up talking. But the lady who had the booth did give me a card.
We need to stick Erica on them.
Right?
Erica, she's all about the branding, and she'd set them straight.
Yeah, because it was, I mean, if you really were interested in buying some more stuff from them, unless they had time to hand you a card or you thought about it, and a lot of times you're not thinking about it, you're worried about making the purchase or whatever, you really don't have a reference to who did I buy this from?
Right. And so often now everything is digital, so you're not even getting a paper receipt to look at.
Right. You're just have to clapping your card on there. Yeah.
Yeah, we are losing something in that tactile world.
Yeah.
All right. So I went to a knife sharpening class. You got a cool ass purse, right?
Why would you go to a knife shop?
You know what? Because it was put on by a group of people. This is not like their day jobs, right? It's just a bunch of scientists and artists and performers and people who work in government, et cetera, that just teach each other skills.
Okay.
And so you go to these events. It's called Ord Camp. But you go to these events where they're like, here's my special interest. And this one guy's special interest is like learning to sharpen knives. And he's really into it. And I learned to sharpen a knife properly. But here I am with some really well-known artists. It's kind of like a salon. And computer programmers. And we're drinking tea and eating
stabbing each other with the sharp knives.
Well, no one's got stabbed.
Sharpening.
But had I thought, I should go to a vintage thing, I would have. But I actually had a lovely time. We talked about a lot of stuff. It was,
So it was more than just the knife sharpening.
It was more than just a knife sharpening.
Yeah.
But
because that would not draw me.
No. Well,
hey, you want to go for a night of knife sharpening?
Right.
Why don't we screw on some, light bulbs?
Although, you have this great conversation and you learn this skill. And actually, our knives at home are super dull, so much that when my adult son comes home, he spends hours sharpening our knives.
Yeah, Ken's big on sharpening his knives. Too.
Yeah. And we all should learn how to sharpen knives at these political times, just in case, guys.
I want something fast. I want something faster. I don't have the patience for a knife.
Right. You're like, what?
Did I? Well, I've shot a gun.
There you go.
If we're talking about weaponry, I have shot a gun. I actually took a class on gun shooting by a Navy SEAL. And you know what the Navy SEAL told me?
What?
Teddy, the most effective way to get somebody, he's this baloney where people shoot you try to shoot him in the leg, shoot him in the arm, shoot him in the hand. He goes, no. He goes, here's what you do. You point the gun towards the gelatinous mass, he told me. The gelatinous mass is from your neck collarbone to your stomach. And he goes, anywhere you hit anybody in there, it's probably going to kill them. So always hit the gelatinous mass.
You know what? I am both horrified and fascinated.
I did good. Yeah. I had them all close together. And I shot a Glock. I shot a Remington. I had all kinds of.
Teddy, you're so tiny. I can just imagine you shooting anything and just flying backwards.
No. Kick back on those guns.
Oh, I've never shot a gun. So
it was kind of fun. It was kind of a release. There was a big gun gallery over here at one time in Glendale Heights, but they closed down. There's still gun shooting galleries. I actually was a legal gun owner.
It's time to bring.
You would never think somebody as liberal as I am would have a gun and have a gun license, but I did. And then I let it expire. I mean, it was just a kind of a fun thing to do. Now, this was well before we had all the school shootings and all that kind of stuff. So at that point, when I was taking the gun classes, and this is probably somewhere in the 80s, it was just like a hobby that people would, they collect guns. Right. There were no semi-automatic weapons. There was no, bump stocks and, all that kind of AR-47s and all that kind of stuff. You shot pistols. It was you'd go to the range
It was
and you
civilized.
shoot pistols.
It was civilized shooting.
Yeah, it was just, for fun and that kind of stuff. But, once all this horrific violence with the school shootings, I can't even look at a gun now,
It's
But I mean, as long as we were talking about weaponry, I just,
right.
join in the conversation.
I think tune into next episode when we talk about fashion psychology and archery.
Yeah. And Teddy Oakley. You can call me Teddy Oakley. Teddy Oakley.
That's a different podcast. You need a lasso.
No, I don't.
You need a lasso. Okay. What other events? I see your list. Yeah.
If you're talking about salons and art,
yes,
I want to tell you about my friend Emma Lyons, who's a fabulous artist. And we went to Emma's art show. This was a few weeks ago too. And she had the art show in her friend's apartment, which her friend has this wonderful apartment that actually looks almost like an art gallery. I mean, they had all of Emma's paintings. Emma had like a series of 3. She had what she calls the big cats. So she had leopards and panthers and all really fabulous paintings. Then she had women who she's influenced by a artist. Let me find him. I got to look this up because I want to get it right for Emma. She was influenced by this Alphonse Mucha.
Oh, yes.
Alphonse Mucha was known for posters that he would create for the the actress, she was a stage actress, Sarah Bernhardt. And so Emma's paintings of the women are largely influenced by who she feels is kind of a mentor as far as who she's gotten influenced by was Alphonse Mucha. Okay. And they're beautiful. They're kind of like the posters that he created for Sarah Bernhardt.
Right. And that's like the art, I'm like, is it Art Nouveau or is the other one Art Deco?
Yeah, he's more
like
middle 1800s.
1890s.
1850s more. Yeah.
I'm looking at this one.
Yeah. And so those were beautiful. And then she did, and I want to show you what I purchased for my friend. This is Emma's little series, garden series. She makes all these beautiful flowers. She had big ones too. I bought a little miniature one. This was called Poppies. And the reason why do you think I bought this one? Why do you think I was attracted to this?
The texture, I'd say you love the texture and because the poppies look like red lips.
Hey, you're smart. You're a smarty smart. Exactly. They look like little red lips and I'm known for my red lip. So I thought, oh my God, not only the colors, like you said, are vibrant and beautiful, but I looked at it and I thought, those look like my lips. So I bought this from Emma and she signed it in the back.
Thanks, Emma.
For me. She's really lovely. I met Emma. You were actually with me the day I met Emma, but you weren't around me. Remember I was wearing that jacket from Raj Patel?
Yes.
At
the one that had
Rachel's Stylist Symposium.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And Emma came up to me and was admiring my jacket so much. And we got to talking. I don't know, you were over talking to somebody else. And then remember they had the step and repeat there. And Emma said, let's take a picture together. So we took a picture together, like back to back, and it was really cute. But when we parted, because it was just a brief kind of interaction, when we parted, I had forgotten her name and she had forgotten mine. So we didn't know how to connect with each other. And finally, we ran into each other at another FGI event. And she was like, remember, I'm the one that you met at the Stylist Symposium. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake. And so we kind of like reconnected that way. But it was just like a brief meeting that we had. And it was based on my jacket. And of course, her artist's eye went to, because it was a very elaborate jacket.
Yeah, that jacket was elaborate.
But that's how actually I met my friend Emma Lyons, a beautiful artist. She does modeling too. And in fact, Emma was the one who put me onto a wonderful designer that I have a meeting with next month. Her name is coming up in May. Her name is Sujata Gazder. And she does a lot of formal wear and cocktail dresses and things like that. Beautiful. In fact, Emma, I think, has modeled some of her clothes and things like that. So I'm meeting with Sujata next month. So I'm really looking forward to that. And luckily, I don't have to drive all the way downtown. She's in the suburbs.
Oh,
which
that's
is
fantastic.
yay, which is yay, because, that is, a big part of my life now has begun, with a commute downtown and back. And that Eisenhower and all those expressways, everything is just clogged to the max now.
I feel like,
it's torture.
I feel like they need to start driving out to you.
Yeah, it's really, well, she did offer, but I thought, well, she's not too far from me. So I thought I wanted to see
it's
her.
not like an hour away.
No. She actually lives maybe 40-minute ride from my house. So that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
I'll drive anywhere in the suburbs. I just won't drive in the city. It just makes me too crazy. That's when I need Ken
to drive.
Ken, my chauffeur. So I'm meeting with Sujata. What else did I do? Rania. I had a wonderful session, and there's a video out with this.
Oh, is it the makeup artist?
Yes, Rania.
I saw these pictures.
Beautiful Syrian girl. She is a friend of another friend of mine, a designer by the name of Lean Gundungo. She has a brand called Kabanchi.
That's right.
And they know each other. And Rania reached out to me and just said, "Oh, I want to meet you." She said so many lovely things to me. And she says, "I'd love for you to come over. I'm going to have Middle Eastern breakfast for you. And then if you want to come, and I'll do your makeup."
Fantastic. But first, tell me what Middle Eastern breakfast is.
Oh, well, she was a treat. It was wonderful. She had homemade falafels she made. She had, and with the falafels, she made them where we eat them with the pita packets. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting. She had pickles, tomatoes, and lettuce to put in with the falafels. And then she had like a garlicky sauce.
Okay,
which yogurt, was a really garlicky sauce, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. It was a really garlicky sauce, delicious. Hummus she had on the side too. Turkish coffee we had.
Best.
Wonderful. Then I'll fast forward before I tell you about the makeup session. After we got done with the makeup session, she had more Turkish coffee. She made this wonderful dessert that was made of graham crackers, cherry pie, and Cool Whip. It was delicious.
Was it? You tell me about this Middle Eastern breakfast. You're like, I'm like, okay, right? It doesn't have eggs on it. What happened? America.
Yeah.
And then you tell me about the most American dessert.
Well, you know what? She told me, she says to me, this isn't what we typically eat. She says, her husband's a pediatrician. Mm. And she said her husband would not allow any sweets in the house until the kids were older. Mm-hmm. No pops, no preservatives. She had all home cooked foods kind of a thing. And she still, for the most part, pretty much does. This dessert was like a rare little treat. But she also served, along with that kind of like all-American dessert, which, by the way, I made for you today as well.
Oh, did you?
I don't know if you deserve it lately, but we'll see. We'll see.
I've never made a mistake.
We'll see. But anyway, she did serve along with it all kinds of dried fruit. So she had apricots, she had dates, nuts, all the kind of really, like sweet but healthy. Yeah. And then, like you said, we had kind of the all-American dessert kind of a thing. But she was such a lovely, lovely hostess. I cannot say how much I really like Rania as a person. And she's such a talented makeup artist. So, okay, let's go back. She did my makeup beautiful. She uses a lot of Dior and some other products and stuff like that. And she did me up. She wanted a more muted lip. So she blended these two wonderful Dior lipsticks together that made kind of like a nudie beige color that was really lovely.
I saw the pictures.
And she's actually sending me the lipsticks now. She's so cute. Oh. She's just the cutest thing ever. And she did, the foundation and all. And then she put the false lashes on. Now, putting false lashes on me is a challenge because I have small eyes. Mm-hmm. And, those false lashes tend to be really big and long.
They do.
So she had to cut them, to fit my eyes. But she did them. And it was a very glam look, one that I'm not used to. I'm used to just mainly my lips are the focus of my face, the rest is kind of just subdued. But this was I kind of reminded myself if I didn't have a smash nose like Donatella Versace.
Who left Versace? I was so sad to see. I guess it's time for her to step down, but
she did. But I kind of looked like a Donatella Versace. It kind of reminded me of a Donatella Versace.
Oh, maybe that she's making room for you. Could you go head Versace, the fashion?
I'm going to go head.
Right? Give her a call.
But it was a different look, but it was very glam and very nice. I got a lot of, good responses on that look. It was very different. It was very good. But Rania's very talented. She doesn't like pull or tug on your face. Do you know that that's the first time I ever had anybody do my entire complete makeup?
Really?
I have never had anybody do my makeup in my life. So it was a whole new experience for me. It was fun.
Wait, even when you modeled on the morning show?
No, we did our own makeup. All of us did our own makeup.
Wow.
Even for the shoot that I did for Marcus, I did my own makeup for that. Always my own makeup. I've never had a makeup artist do my makeup. When I did the pictures for the 40 over 40 with Sky, he offered, because he had a hairdresser who also did makeup. And I said, you know what, I'll just do my own makeup and then you can have the guy do my hair. So they had somebody do my hair for the 40 over 40, but I did my own makeup.
And I mean, maybe he had a makeup artist that could do it, but I also find a lot of makeup artists don't know what to do with older skin. They have no idea how to treat it.
Yeah. I would say.
And you have great skin.
Yeah, I have to say, Rania did a fabulous job. She put the right amount of moisturizer. She did the foundation. It went on like glass. She blended the blush and the bronzer and everything very thoroughly. I mean, it looked like a painting when she was done. So she really did a great job.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to link that in the show notes as well. So
Rania is very excellent.
Because I'm really always interested in makeup artists that actually can do aging skin is very my skin is so different than it was in.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's a whole different world.
My daughter does makeup on herself and it's incredible. She does it on me.
Well, it gets challenging when you get older is your eyelids get a little crepey. So you got to be careful because you can end up making your eyes look older. That's why I don't tend to do the big, kind of cat eye things. Because my eyes are so black, and you get older, the other thing that happens is as you age, your eyes lose shape. So my eyes have always been kind of almond shaped, but they tended to be always turned down a little bit. And I would have people refer to them when I was younger as bedroom eyes because you look a little sleepy. So I had the bedroom eyes. Now they don't look like bedroom eyes. Now I just look like I'm exhausted because they've lost all shape. So I have to line the inside of my rims and underneath here to give my eye back shape. Because if you see me without the liner in here, I really have kind of like shapeless eyes. So it actually gives my eye a little bit of definition. So it is, there are challenges, you have to make sure your moisturizer is good. That's the other thing. I do not put powder on except for my nose because I don't want a shiny nose. And I tend to powder my lips so my lipstick will hopefully stay on a little bit more. Because you don't want powder because it will go into the little creases and lines, right?
Right.
Well, here's the problem. I keep my face highly moisturized, which is fabulous, right? But the minute the wind blows, my hair is stuck to my moisturizer. So I have strands of hair constantly being stuck to my face. It's like wearing, when you wear lip gloss and it gets stuck to your mouth. Well, my whole face is like lip gloss.
You got face gloss.
My face gloss. So if I go in the wind, it's like torture. I go, and it gets all stuck. And then I have hairs and I got to pull them off. I'm like, oh, damn it. I wish it wasn't so windy. So that's the other issue is, the older you get, because I actually had very oily skin when I was younger. In fact, I used to say you could pump oil out of my skin and sell it. I had so much oil. And now, not only because you go through menopause and your face dries up a little bit, but going through chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And then I'm on pills that also dry up your eyes. They dry up everything, so I'm extra dry. So I went from being this oily skinned woman who was always being patted down matte. So now I don't touch anything matte, because if I put anything matte on my face, it will just make whatever little fine lines I have look more pronounced. So it's a whole different thing doing mature skin. Let's call it mature skin. Although I had a woman arguing with me on Instagram the other day because somebody posted something about what's wrong with old women or something like that. And I just made a statement that I said, I really don't like the word old. Because if you look at the definition of old in the dictionary, it says usually archaic, worthless, all the words that invisible, those kinds of connotations that we associate with old.
Yeah.
And I said, I prefer the word mature. And this woman got in a big tizzy about it because she says, no, we should. If that's the definition of old, we need to change the definition of old. And I felt like saying to her, but I don't want to get in a big back and forth. I felt like saying to her, honey, I don't have that much time. I don't have that much time, honey, to redefine old. Let's just say mature and call it a day. I'm not going to be around to do a commercial for the next 20, 25 years to redefine the word old. Just don't use the frickin' word old. Say mature. Because mature means that something has grown into its own, a mature wine, a mature whatever, meaning, you are at a different phase in your life, but it doesn't mean that you don't have anything to offer or that you haven't learned a lot of life's lessons.
Mm-hmm.
My niece tells me all the time, oh, Aunt Teddi, you think you know everything. And I said, well, I have 26 years of knowing more than you.
And that's a real advantage.
Guys. It is a big advantage. And younger people do not understand that concept. It's even like there's this commercial on TV that aggravates the shit out of me. It's a commercial for, or what is it? It's a commercial for, I can't even remember because it aggravates me so much. See, that's a bad commercial. But what they do is they mock older people in it by showing them as being out of touch. Mm. And then there's actually an older man who's tutoring. There's somebody like your age who's acting like a quote unquote old parent. And then the older guy is pretending like he's the one who's tutoring them how to be more modern. And it's highly insulting because it shows the message it's giving is you don't want to be like your parents because they don't know anything. They're not up to date on things. They're rude. They say silly things. And I have to mentor. It's progressive insurance or something like that. And it's highly insulting to older people because it basically is saying, you don't want to grow up to be your parents. And the older guy, who's actually the age of the parents, is tutoring the people that are your age who are acting like their parents. And it's a terrible commercial. And they've been playing it for a couple of years now. They have different variations on it. And I find it highly insulting because it really just, it perpetuates that stereotype that once you're over a certain age, you're just going to become this moldy old person who doesn't stay up to date with anything. I love it when younger people tell me how to get more viewers on Instagram, and I look at their page and they have 2,000 people following them, and I have over 70,000 people following me.
Sure.
But they always feel like they need to give me advice on how to get more followers on Instagram. And I look at their page and it's 2,000 people tops. And I've got like 70 plus thousand, but they're giving me advice on how I should market myself on Instagram. It's like, I think I could give you a little advice, maybe. I also won an award for content creation.
You're like, I'm doing okay, guys. I'm doing okay.
I'm not a dinosaur yet.
Right. Oh gosh, what did I see? I saw a reel recently. I'm sure it was a TikTok before it was a reel, and it was basically going through all of the trends that all of the girlies are doing. Like all of the girlies are doing like red light therapy. All of the girlies are doing like lymphatic massage. All of the girlies are doing, and it's just all of these like beauty trends or whatever that all the girlies are doing. And it's like two Gen X women, and they're like, oh, we're tired of what all of the girlies are doing.
I have the red mask and the lights.
And
and it turns red. red, green, blue. It's
Yeah.
bullshit. It doesn't
Yeah.
do anything. That's all crap. I have to make an appointment for a dermatologist because I, believe it or not, in all these years, have never had my body checked for skin cancer.
Oh, yeah.
And I really should, especially since I had breast cancer. They said that you're more susceptible to skin cancer if you've had breast cancer. So I do have to make an appointment with a dermatologist just so I can have peace of mind to do like a body check.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask the dermatologist when I go, does those red light things really do anything? Because, I don't know, maybe I haven't used mine long enough, but like maybe I tried it when they first sent it to me because I did a commercial for it too on Instagram. I tried it for like a couple of weeks. Now, I don't know, maybe you have to wait months before you see any results or
It's
whatever.
to help generate collagen.
Collagen. Yeah. You know what really helps to generate collagen?
Eating donuts.
No. Oh yeah, that'll increase the collagen in your thighs and your ass.
Secret. Well, that's where my collagen lives. So
but you know what really is a good treatment? It's very expensive, but what is a very good treatment to stimulate collagen is Fraxel laser. Fraxel laser actually injures your skin, and I've had it done. I had it done about 11 years ago.
Micro needling?
It's an actual laser that they put on your face. They give you numbing cream, but believe me, it doesn't numb it that much. And then they give you this little hose that's supposed to cool off the burning because they're literally burning your skin off, right? So they burn this thing and they go around and they do that. It's painful. I'm not going to mask it. It does hurt, but I have a very high threshold for pain. So I'm not one of these squeakers, And you come home and your face blows up like a balloon. And you've got to like hold all kinds of ice packs on there and sleep sitting up for a couple of days. And then it finally all comes down. But at the end, and you're probably out of operation for about a week, before you can go out in public. But then all that peels off and you have all fresh skin underneath. And what that injury does is it also builds up collagen in your skin. And like I said, I had those laser treatments done about 11 years ago. So I have noticed when I look at other people my age, they have a lot more nasolabial folding here than I do. In fact, mine's almost non-existent. I'm a little jolly here. And that's why I'm thinking maybe going back for a little refresh, because what laser will do is it tightens and plumps your skin. So it does hurt, but it really does. I mean, I had this done 11 years ago.
Right.
But it builds collagen in your skin. And it takes, after the treatment, up to the collagen, it continues to build in your skin for about 3 to 4 months afterwards. So it actually gets better and better as the months go by after you've had that done. But it's several $1,000s. It's not a cheap thing. It's not something that,
Right. And who knows what it is now. Right. You did a lot of
years. The same. Yeah. It's about the same. It hasn't really changed that much in price. It's on average about $1,500 a session. And I had 5 sessions done.
Oh, good Lord. Teddy, well, you look fabulous. So.
Well, it helped.
Yeah.
It did help. I have to say it did. And it plumps out your skin and it lasts. Unlike the Botox that these people get shot in their faces and they're all stiff and they're walking around like mummified versions of themselves. That Botox only lasts like 3 months.
Oh, gosh, I get so many ads for Botox and GLP-1, or I did on Instagram. Those are all of the ads I've been getting. Like got my age target.
Yeah.
Right. Although recently, funnily enough, because because Temu and Shein, they've all stopped advertising in the United States.
Right. Well, they got hit with that 145%
right.
tariff.
So they stopped doing that. So I don't get those ads anymore. But the ads I do get are all ads from companies helping American citizens get citizenship in other countries. So now that's replaced all of the beauty ads I'm getting, and all of the like weight loss ads that they're like, oh, you're a woman in your 40s. This is what you need. Now they're like, you're a woman in your 40s. Here's how
get the hell out of the United States.
Here's like how to get the fuck out of the US. I've got it for Canada. I've got it for Scotland.
Somebody told me
got it
Portugal.
For Romania. Yeah, Portugal is where a lot of my friends have moved to.
Yeah,
are in kind of internet security.
I was talking to somebody recently, and they said they were looking into Portugal. That it's very inexpensive to live there,
and they have a really good policy to a visa policy.
Yeah,
you can live there for a year if you're a digital, like a remote worker, like that whole thing. But I was like, oh crap, this is happening.
Yeah.
That now these communities are just like,
Yeah.
oh, well, this is finally our time to shine. Here's how to become an expat.
Wow.
So that's happening in my Instagram feed. If anyone's
It's very distressing. Well,
Yeah.
Ken works off his frustration by going to the, what is it, hands-off demonstration?
Yeah.
Ken goes, in fact, there's going to be a big one
May Day.
May 1st, which
Mhm.
that'll have passed by the time you see this episode. But yeah, he's going to that one on Thursday. So he always comes home and he feels real energized. He's like, I feel so much better. I feel so much better. I feel so relieved. And he keeps asking me to go, but he tells me like, a couple hours before or whatever, and I've got something else planned. So I told him, the next time you know about one of those rallies, give me, a few days heads up so I can plan, because, I have a schedule of things, but he goes.
Yeah. I went to the last one that was downtown.
Yeah.
It's just nice to go to events. Michael and I have been discussing this idea of islands of coherence where like the world is crazy and you feel very isolated, but you go into these circles of community.
Like-minded people.
Right. Who are all like, hey, the world is crazy, right? And when I ask you how you're doing, you don't have to say, oh, I'm great. You can say, I'm so angry.
Right. And they understand what you're
and they totally understand that and can support you. So
it's very important to have support nowadays. I mean, it really is, with all the craziness that you hear coming from Trump's mouth and all his minions. And you hear about these poor children. Now they have this 4-year-old child who is dying of stage 4 cancer and receiving treatments here. And his mom was deported. They literally gave her like an hour to get ready. She had a partner here who was the child's father, who she was going to try to collaborate with because he's here as a citizen. Mm-hmm. She couldn't. So she had to take the kid out of the country with her.
And now will that child
get the medical treatment he needs? Yeah. So it's a horror story.
It is a horror story. I was reading that so my generation, we have thought that there was a big influx of immigrants from Latin America, mostly Mexico. Yeah. But they have always been here for us. So we are less outraged about this. Right. The baby boomers, your generation, actually, this has only happened in your lifetime. Mm-hmm. So people who are super worried about it, not saying you, but just of that generation, it's because they remember a time when the Mexicans weren't always here. Yeah. And they do feel like it's like a whole, oh, you changed the whole country.
Well, and don't forget, so I grew up in a segregated time period where everything was, quote unquote, whitewashed. I mean, I was born in the 50s where Brown v. Board came to be. They had, up until that point, when I was growing up as a little child, because I was born in 1953, when I was growing up as a little child, if you went down south, Black people had their own drinking fountains. They had separate bathrooms. They had to sit at the back of the bus. They had to sit in different restaurants. I mean, that's where the civil rights movement sprung from. I mean, there were no civil rights for Black people when I was, a 10, 11, 12-year-old child. Everybody in your neighborhood was the same. All white people. There would be no Black next door neighbors or Hispanic next door neighbors or whatever. Everything was very whitewashed, discrimination. I mean, that's what charged the revolution in the 60s, was not only Vietnam, but a civil rights movement at the same time too.
And the 14th Amendment,
Roe v. Wade.
And Roe v. I know 14th Amendment is with slavery, et cetera, but I mean, it's being challenged.
Well, it's also Roe v. Wade.
I went to an ACLU lunch a while ago. I saw Laura there from Lottie Vidney, who I need to give a call to. But we were at the ACLU lunch. And the speaker, I don't actually remember her name. I'm so ashamed of it. I remember nobody's name.
I don't remember her name so far.
But she talked about the United States, we wrote this Declaration of Independence, blah, blah, blah. But she's like, the United States as we know it now, as the laws are written, really, the United States wasn't free for everyone until the civil rights era.
Absolutely. So, and let's add in for our gay friends, Stonewall became a very big cry for, rights for gays as well, too. When the New York cops stormed Stonewall, which was a gay bar,
right,
and just beat the shit out of people, shot people up and everything. That was kind of like the George Floyd moment for the gays to rise up and say, hey, we're human, we're here,
right,
we're queer, and we're not going anywhere.
right. And then gay marriage was only in Obama's term.
Right. So,
2000.
all these rights that many young people are growing up with now, they don't realize that my generation, people that were my age and Black, Hispanic, gay, women, did not have the rights that you have now.
Right.
And if you don't fight for them, you will not have them as well,
especially given who's in government and what they're trying to do.
Right.
Thinking about all the gender policing that's happening now and why that's happening.
Right.
I mean, gender policing happened with colonialism. Yeah. They were like, you have to subscribe to our gender norms.
Yeah.
In order to be part of this community.
Right.
And you see that happening again with the removal of DEI.
Trump wants no trans people in the military.
And he wants no trans people,
period. Yeah, just pretend like they don't exist.
And he's trying to make them prisoners in their own country, right? Who can get a passport matters only if you ascribe to these two binary
In fact, didn't they stop that where you can pick? Is it the X box or something like that?
The weird thing about that is that, libertarians who are like, the government needs to stay out of my business.
Yeah.
They pick the X. They don't pick the gender because they're like, it's not your business.
Okay.
And people who don't want to identify with either of these binaries, which again is the idea that you have to identify with the binaries, is, a product of colonialism and saying no one can be outside the norm because if you're outside the norm, you're against us.
And it's a threat to white men. Ultimately, that's what it is.
100%.
Here's the best one, and we'll end on a fashion note, but I just have to throw this in. We should do like a second political podcast. This, what was it Trump did recently now? Oh, I'm losing my train of thought.
I don't know. It does something every day, sometimes 3 times.
I know. It's mind numbing, Melissa. It's some days I think of so many things that he's going to pay women now.
Oh, $5,000.
$5,000 a piece to have a baby. Wowee! What does that pay for? That doesn't even pay for the birth, let alone the kid.
Right.
And then, wait a minute. He's going to also, if you have more than 6 kids,
you get a medal. Oh, the Nazis did that, by the way.
Hitler did it.
By the way. Yes. I'm like, who's going to have those babies? Who $5,000 sounds great to?
Yeah.
Poor women.
Yeah. Who can't afford to have the kids to begin with.
Right.
And if they are even, I don't even think poor people think $5,000 is a lot of money.
What I hope is that he puts the $5,000 out there and then every Black and brown woman who wanted to have a family anyway just has so many babies and they kick his fucking ass.
Well, and that's what he's trying to encourage, is he's really trying to encourage
because they need
white women to have the babies. Because here's the fact that they don't like. By the 2050s, there will be more people of color than white people in this country.
We are already a majority if you count children. So by the time these children grow up, which is the 2050s, by the time these children grow up, they will have more brown people, which is great. I mean,
but they don't think it's great because they don't see that as their base for voting or anything else. So they're trying to squish as much of this as possible to give them some kind of political advantage.
Right. This is the same thing that happened in the United States in the 1920s.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of immigration reform then. Yeah. We did, who's the real immigrant, who's not, pushing.
It was the Italians were discriminated against, the Irish were discriminated against, the Greeks were discriminated against. I mean, that's the one thing. If you watch old movies, how politically incorrect they are, it's mind numbing.
Yeah, it's
really. There's a Ginger Rogers movie of mine that's one of my favorites, and I love it. It's called Kitty Foyle, but there's a phrase that she uses in it that I find very offensive. The actor who's proposing to her says, "Oh, you want to get married or whatever," and she goes, "Well, I don't see why there's no reason that we shouldn't. I'm free, white, and 21. We're the same color."
Oh my God.
And she says that. Now, this movie, just for reference, was made in the 1930s, where no actor in Hollywood who was Black played anything other than a maid or a butler or a shoe shine person.
And it's what what is white in that context?
Yeah.
Because is it not Italian? Is it
Yeah,
not,
well, probably not, or
not
Greek, or Jewish,
right?
or
Because there's a
Irish. They used to have signs that would say the Irish need not apply. You can't get any whiter skin than Irish, but they were like, no, Irish need not apply.
Yeah.
So who knows who they target? I mean, it's just a free for all right now, and hopefully, people will speak out. Take your power back. Go to rallies. Make sure that you vote, and make sure that your representatives know how you feel. That's the only way that change is going to happen. Because if you wait for the politicians to change anything, you'll be waiting forever.
Oh, you'll be waiting forever. But also, just a plea is write down your history. Archive everything about your gender divergence or your heritage or your ideas, because they continue to scrub the internet.
Yes, they
continue to scrub the internet of all of these things. They continue to scrub the internet. Like, they removed things about the Tuskegee Airmen because one of the planes
I never heard of them until about 5-10 years ago. I'd never even heard of them.
So they're removing our history to try to rewrite history in the image of this particular disgusting, despotic government.
Yeah.
And so, my plea to you, everyone, is to archive that, to write it down, to record it.
And hope it doesn't get burnt somewhere.
Well, because this information disappears, and it's good to have multiple copies of things.
Right,
so
right.
That's how I feel about it. Okay, you told me we were going to swoop back to fashion. So
we'll polish off this by swooping back to fashion. We're excited because we're going to be interviewing, and again, you'll see this episode after, but we're interviewing a fabulous designer, Tytus, today. He's a Chicago designer, fabulous. We're going to his fashion show on Saturday. Can't wait for that.
That's right.
We are also coming up today. We're going to be interviewing a professor from Notre Dame University who wrote a book on the art of dressing. And we're going to pick her brain about the history of dress in the 20th century.
That's right. And there were tons of laws around dress that she talks about as well.
So you'll be seeing this. I'm thinking Tytus, us. Well, actually, you will be seeing her episode after we're talking about this. So you can look forward to her episode because we're going to air this episode before we air hers. So you can look forward to that episode and make sure that if you haven't watched it, watch Tytus's episode, which will be before this. So we're excited about our 2 new guests. And just a quick, coming up next month, I'm going to be attending Chicago Fashion Coalition's Met. Chicago does the Met, and Tytus is designing an outfit for me for that event. I'm very excited about that. I'm meeting with Sujata. And what else? Oh, we're both going to the Curio sneaker event.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, I'm not. But
right. Look, I don't know about. I don't know a lot about sneakers.
I don't know anything about sneakers.
However, I know it's a big deal.
Yeah. And this is designer sneakers. So this is the creation of designer sneakers, which is kind of interesting.
I have a couple pair. I have 2 pair from Coach, and then I have a collaboration with I think it's Yamaguchi and Adidas, which I will be wearing, of course.
Yeah.
And my claim to fame about that one is I was wearing those sneakers and like a white outfit with my black jacket, with my black leather jacket, which I think is a BCBG jacket.
Yeah.
And I was shopping in Trader Joe's, and this super tall guy comes up to me and it immediately starts talking me up because I guess I look the part, and he was trying to swoop me away to an awards event that evening because it turns out he's a professional basketball player.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he a basketball player? Because they love those designer gym shoes.
Pick me up, and I was like, oh, you know what, I can't go. I have these things. And he texts me later, he's like, are you sure you don't want to just come with me? And I was like, no, I'm very happy in my relationship. But it was it was bold of him. And so every time I think about those, I think about those sneakers. I think about this.
To me, I grew up in a generation where we wore Keds or PF Flyers.
Those were options, though.
And they were called gym shoes. We didn't call them sneakers. I don't know where the name sneakers came from, other than I guess maybe you're supposed to be able to sneak up on people when you wear them. But we used to call them gym shoes. We wore them for gym class. And then we would wear them like in the fall when you go out to play with your friends. You put your gym shoes on. But in the summer, we would run around barefoot or wear what we called then thongs, which everybody calls flip-flops
they're flip-flops now. Yeah, we
now. But
also
we call them thongs.
Yeah, you cannot say you're wearing thongs.
No, because now it's the underwear that
They'll be
goes
like
up
you're
your
wearing
ass.
multiple pair of underwear.
It's the underwear that goes up your ass.
Anyway, we're going to go see the sneakers thing.
The sneakers thing is coming up. That is a curio event as well. And it's going to be, Maggie Gillette, a friend of the show, is going to be the moderator for that.
Yeah. I'm actually really excited.
I'm not thrilled, like over the moon, because I'm not a big sneaker person, but it sounds interesting. The concept of, I can't even imagine. They had this one kid, Ben Affleck's son, and they were talking about these entitled rich kids. He wanted a pair of sneakers that cost $6,000
from the woman.
I would rather wipe my ass with the $6,000 and throw it in the garbage than spend $6,000 on a pair of shoes that some 15-year-old kid is going to wear.
Oh,
Come on. There's nothing to justify that. I'm sorry. If you're an adult and you're an investment banker and you make a good trillions of dollars, go buy your $6,000 sneakers. God bless you. But that is not for children. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He was going to wear them? I'd rather he wore them than just collected them. What did I hear about recently? And I swear, guys, we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, we've only been going on an hour here now.
Probably. But okay, so two things. One, I was just listening to another podcast. It was Dressed on the way here.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Yves Saint Laurent condoms and Marc Jacob condoms that are selling on the resale market. They've got to be.
They made those?
So look it up. It's a real thing. By the way, you can buy one Yves Saint Laurent condom for $125.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Jesus. I know. On like Braille or something.
Get a Trojan.
Yeah, well, you could just, anyway, let's not go there. And then the other thing, the sneakers and what people wear to revolutions.
Yeah.
I've been reading up on this because, I'm excited about what people are wearing to the revolution. And so a lot of what people wear when they are becoming more revolutionary is they wear looser and looser clothes. So you think,
well, you got to maneuver. You got to be able to fight, man.
Right. So
you're not going to be tidily on high heels.
Right. Like the psychology of that is so interesting, right? You've got your bodices, et cetera, and all of your corsets. And the revolution there was to come out of the corset. And
for practical reasons, think about it.
Right. And so all of these loose clothes and more casual clothes to try to set you apart. So sneakers as a revolution, I'm super interested in.
Yeah. So I'm sure it'll be interesting. Like I said, I'm not a big sneaker person, but I'm open to hearing what the conversation is about. And so that's another thing that we're going to be doing in May. So in order to wrap things up here, kiddo, let's ask the famous question.
Teddy, why don't we dress for dinner anymore?
I don't know, Melissa. Why don't we? Thanks for listening to Why Don't We Dress for Dinner Anymore? Please remember to subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. That really helps people find us.
And if you're a brand and want to sponsor the show, please email us at whydon'twedressfordinner@gmail.com, also linked in the show notes.
And if you're a fabulous person and you want to support our work, join us on our Patreon or take us out to dinner sometime and we'll be sure to dress up for you.